Good afternoon. It's Jimmy Ralph, the CEO of Board of Advisors, and here we are again. We're at the Las Colinas Ritz-Carlton, just outside of Dallas, Texas, for our quarterly Board of Advisors meeting, where we've got over 100 terrific entrepreneurs, investors, seekers of capital, developers, and professionals in every aspect of business you can imagine, whether that's legal or growth or finance or tax mitigation. We've got them all in the room down the hall. But I wanted to take a few minutes and interview one of our very important members, Dave Lucado. So, Dave, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, good to see you. We see you every quarter, and you're a big part of Board of Advisors, and everybody certainly enjoys your wisdom and your wit and the fact that you're a fun guy to be around. So
lot of golf too.
That's always fun. We get some good tee times and awesome golf course to play. So we'll be doing that in a few days.
Yes.
But wow, I've got so many things I want to talk to you about. But Rapid Signs now is is the phenom company that you started, built, I believe, and now are running and dominating the industry. So, I guess I'm curious to go back to the beginning and how you decided that was the business you wanted to be in. Did you buy a smaller company, or did you start it from scratch, or?
I started from scratch. It's kind of a funny story. I was living in Atlanta and selling insurance. And, I really was kind of getting burned out. I was driving all over the state of Georgia selling insurance. And one night I met a young lady at a local establishment, and she was an attorney, slightly older than I was. I was, 23. And she was an attorney, and she told me about what she does and how I could be utilized, not in her business, because she didn't want to mix work and love, I guess. So she referred me to an ex-colleague where they had worked at a big firm. He had started his own firm.
For the business, not the love.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Referred me to a colleague, and then I just started with him, and just outside of Atlanta, Georgia, as his investigator. And that was in like 2009. So 17 years ago. Wow. Mm-hmm. I've been doing it a long time. And, and then I just, kind of started, and I didn't really see the vision. I don't even think, her and I are still cordial to this day. I don't think she could really believe like where I took it. I just started seeing vision, like, hey, I'm working for one attorney, could I work for five? That was something the attorney she referred me to and some of his friends were like, hey, where do you see yourself? And I said, really? I could see myself sitting in an office and running 5 different law firms, doing what you guys do, and running my program, sitting in an office and having people work under me. And today, we have over 70 employees for back office staff and over 6,000 in-person reps that they work on a contract basis. Wow. It's really grown, and we have about 400 law firms, 400 to 500 that we service.
Wow. That's more than 4 or 5.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. That's the American entrepreneur's dream, right? I mean,
exactly.
That's what we've all been striving for our whole professional life. So that's really exciting. And now you're opening a brand new office and call center here in Dallas.
Yes. So, and I guess about 2021, because our base is in Irvine, California. In 2021, we saw some strategic tax advantages and kind of just wanted to test some new waters outside of California. So we built our second headquarters here in technically Irving, Texas, in Las Colinas. And we have about 5,500, 6,000 square feet. And now we're acquiring another 11,000 square feet that is actually, when this podcast airs, will be about finished.
Wow. That all makes a lot of sense. And you go back to the people aspect and the training aspect. I'm assuming, and not knowing a lot about your business, but I'm assuming for that very valuable lead, you only get one shot at that. Right, they're not going to think about it and call you back. Mostly, if you blow it the first time, they're going to just go down the road.
It depends on how bad you blow it. Okay. To really, essentially, the goal is when you take these type of leads if it's a case that fits the attorney's criteria or is really close, you really want to sign them on that first initial phone call without letting them off. Send them the rapid sign text message, e-sign, get them signed up, do the intake, because you want to do the intake on that initial signing, on that initial phone call, because now you have the client that is invested. They've invested 45 minutes to an hour with your firm, with your paperwork. The firm now has their information, the clients, and now they just really feel invested, and they don't want to go through that whole process again, where like there are some competitor call centers that'll just sign them and then get off the phone, where now that client has only invested 10 minutes. So you take 10 minutes versus an hour, how the client doesn't feel that invested. It's not that hard for them to call the next number down Google and invest 10 minutes with someone else that maybe they feel a little bit more comfortable with.
Right. And these are significant cases, right? So that it doesn't even feel right to hire your lawyer in 10 minutes.
Exactly.
I mean, that seems almost superficial. So that's got to be a psychological component as well.
Right. It really comes down to the firm's marketing approach, because usually when the client calls into the firm, most of the clients are not shopping. By the time we answer the call, they've already made up their mind that that's the firm that they want to go with. But if you sign them and then just quickly get off the phone and say, and you think you have them, now if someone else gets in their ear, like a family friend, a coworker, says, "Oh, my uncle's an attorney," they say, "Well, heck, I've only invested 10 minutes. What's another 10 minutes of my life?" But when they think about, I've invested an hour of my life on the phone, given all my personal details, I've texted photos of my driver's license, insurance card, my bodily injuries.
What do you think? Do you have any industry stats? I'm sure that your closing ratio is much higher than those competitors, especially the offshore ones, the ones that don't have their sweat and blood in the business like you do. You can tell your past. I mean, you could take that next call coming in right now and close them.
And I still will train a couple days a month just to keep myself fresh. It's like if you're running a business like a McDonald's and you're the manager, if you don't get behind the fryer or how the burger machine or whatever they're doing, and you don't do that every so often, then you kind of lose your touch. You always want to stay very crisp, because you shouldn't be telling someone else how to do their job if it's been so long since you've done it, you can't remember exactly what you're talking about.
Right.
You always want to, and I do that with myself. I always want to stay crisp, take calls, and train people, because that's, if you don't have a good training system, then your employees, they're going to fail, but it's because you're failing them. If you don't set them up for success, you can't get upset when it doesn't work out.
Well, yeah, and just they're human beings, and a lot of times that gets forgotten. When I started my business career, it was 30 some years ago, and it was all about people more than it was processes and systems and so forth. It was can you build an organization of people that really care about the company, care about you as an owner, all of those things, and some of that's gotten lost with the technology and the systems and the processes. And you're in a people business where the person that's calling you is calling you because they may have had the worst thing in their life happen. Right? We're in businesses. We deal with attorneys. We deal with problems and issues. But most of the population doesn't deal with that. It could be the first time they ever had a problem where they're nervous, they're scared, they don't know what to do, or they've just suffered a loss, right? So having that's got to be the glue that's made you so successful. Yeah,
really showing empathy. You have to be, when you look, I'll speak again on these overseas call centers, since they don't have a boutique training environment as we do, they're more or less reading a script off a computer. They're the person, they put something in the computer and then the next question comes up. We don't do scripts. We teach the scripts to be in the mind.
Wow. So it sounds real.
Yeah. We want it to sound
real. Is real.
And we want the client, because we're, outsourced from the office. So a lot of firms, if it rings 3 or 4 times in the law firm's office, then it'll come over to us and we'll answer on that 5th or 6th ring. And then after hours, maybe from 6 p.m. to 7:59 a.m., it'll go to us on the first ring. The lead assumes that we're sitting in the attorney's office. We turn a law firm that's only open 8 or 9 hours a day. We turn that firm to being open 24 hours a day. And we're here in the U.S., no accents, and here to close deals. That's
awesome. So the business side of me turns on there and says, okay, so the lawyer's answering it, on the first 5 rings. Are they trying to beat you to the call, or is your cost of your service low enough, relative to the case that they don't care where it goes?
Yeah, the attorney cares about one thing. They want the call answered. They don't like missed calls, and that's what we're there to ensure. Because if it rings 4 or 5 times in their office, the attorney is under the assumption, maybe his internal call system could be faulty and it's not ringing, or whatever it is. The attorney just wants the lead's call answered. And an attorney, I always tell attorneys this: no one is going to be better at taking that lead's call than you, the attorney. We just want to be second best.
Right. No, that makes sense. But he can't take the volume.
He can't, exactly. Right. He can't answer every call.
Right. And he can't train people. He probably can handle them well himself.
Right.
But potentially he's one of the worst sales trainers in the world.
I've heard that, but I'm not going to neither confirm nor deny.
I can't get in trouble no matter what I say. So you can. But I'm just thinking about that from a business perspective. That's not what they're trained to do. Just like,
right.
Your reps that are handling those and closing those leads, they wouldn't be very good lawyers. So,
exactly.
I
actually thought I was a really good trainer until I hired corporate trainers. And I'm not going to say they run circles around me with my staff and how good they are, but they do a much better job than I can.
Yeah, well, you're so passionate that you can do it slightly different every time, but you don't want to train them to do it different every time.
Right.
They'll all deviate as they get experience, but they will bleed off your enthusiasm and love for the business. So
yeah, I'm very passionate about it.
I can tell. That's great. So what's next? I don't know, how you really talk about that. You're opening a brand new training center. You're adding 11,000 square feet. And I see you're investing back in your employees it sounds like it's going to be a really fun place to work. So
yeah,
tell us a little bit about that and what you see the future bringing.
Right now, so we hired 3 AI developers. They're in our Irvine, California campus. So I'm really excited about what they're building. And what they're essentially doing, without giving away too many secrets,
sure,
they're developing a call listening software that we're using internally already. It essentially grades the quality of the call. So a manager doesn't have to sit there and go in and listen to every single call. So we have the call built on 20 different categories. So how empathetic was our rep? How knowledgeable were they about the law firm? Did they ask this question? Did they ask that question? How was their enthusiasm and empathy throughout the call? So it gives them 1 to 5 points on 20 different categories to equal a total of 100 points. And most people now, the staff now doesn't even know what the criteria is. And they're scoring, mid to upper 80s. And what the software is going to allow us to do is let's just say the average call is an 82. Okay. That's just average across the board. But then a call comes in and it's a 58. Now the manager can listen to that call and we can work on maybe retraining that employee, and really getting ahead of things before it becomes a real problem. So that's really kind of the future about what we're doing, because we're going to be able to use this software to package it up and sell it to law firms to use for their internal staff.
Interesting. Do you so you're hedging against changes that are going to come in your own way?
I always tell people I'm the anti-AI when it comes to call centers. I don't think anyone in their right mind would pay $3,000 for a lead and let it talk to a robot. I think that's crazy.
Right.
And I know there's AI gurus and I mean, I meet them at the conferences all the time. They're always like, well, my AI this, my AI that. I say, hey, that's great. I'm glad you're passionate, but there is no way in 2026 that I'm going to pay $3,000 for a phone call and chance it with a robot. I'm just not going to do it.
No, I can't imagine that. And we've got some of the best AI folks in the industry down here in the board of advisors room that are just brilliant and have ways of doing things that just blow your mind. But it seems to me that this business is a long ways from being interrupted with that.
I'm not saying it's not going to get there. I understand,
but it sounds like you're building towards adding AI to where it can be added, just not customer facing.
Yeah, right. It will not be client facing. So the injured party is not going to speak to this. It's just going to be listening in the background, and it's going to be giving call grades. And we want to work out a reward system for our employees. Like, hey, the top 3 for the month in average scoring, get X amount of dollars, or a day off of work and a trip to the spa. Something like that, where we can really reward excellence.
Yeah, well, that's where I think that's an appropriate place to use it, because you can now with AI you can listen, study, analyze, and produce a report really right on every call, and you couldn't possibly afford to have
someone listening.
Yeah, you'd have to have it'll be a 1-to-1 ratio. Right. If you were really listening to every call, you'd have to have a human listening to a human the whole time.
Exactly.
So I could see it being the backup and the data collection and that. So that's smart. So did you say you've gone to 400 or 500 attorneys?
Yeah, law firms.
Law firms.
Yes.
So how do you manage your client facing? Okay, so you got all these parties here, right? You've got the injured person, you've got them calling to your call center, which I want to hear how you're getting them to call you first, because that's something that people are interested in. But then you've got that person calling your call center. You're referring them back to that attorney, or you're finishing the pre-close, I guess, or maybe the close for the attorney.
We do the full close, the intake, the property damage, bodily injury, IDs, medical paperwork, everything.
So the attorney's engaged when you hang up the phone.
As soon as we hang up the phone, we will package all the data together, separate it, and then within an hour or two, the attorney will have the complete file, and they're able to give that to their case manager, and the case manager can set up all the claims with the insurance company with all the data we collected. Wow.
Okay. So that's a burden relief for the attorneys too, right? Because they had to have been trying to figure out how to do that, and instead of litigating, they're administrating.
Well, the attorneys, before companies like mine existed, the attorney, they have people just like my call center reps. I like to say intake center versus call center, because we're more boutique. But the attorney has intake reps in their office. The issue is sometimes their marketing outweighs the number of reps they have. And a lot of the attorneys they don't have those reps in the office 24/7. And that's the void that we fill.
What an incredible! I just love your story. It's the vision of an entrepreneur. It's what we've all dreamed of doing since we were, who knows how old, but when we're trying to figure out how to cut yards, or clean houses, or paint things, or whatever we could do to make a living, right? And here you are, that great American success story. So that's really exciting. So your relationships, we got to go here in a minute, but I wanted you're able to use the relationships at Board of Advisors to for advice, and what's your top thing there with other entrepreneurs?
Yeah, the great thing about Board of Advisors, I really like the forum. I did my first forum last time.
Oh, okay.
I really like that because it really it really made Board of Advisors feel more like a family, versus like, hey, let me sell you something. Because I've told you before, like when we've been talking, I didn't join Board of Advisors to sell to any members or to be sold on. If someone's trying to sell to me, then that's going to be a turnoff to me. I joined to be like a second family to, hey, what attorney have you used in the past for this issue? It's more like ancillary help within my business. And then obviously learning some tax advantages and things like that.
Yeah, so the people that have been here for years talk about the fact that maybe that first year or 6 months, they didn't get as much out of it because they realized it's about trying to give and give that advice, and then that advice rolls back around and it's times 100. It's just a multiple.
Right.
So it's kind of neat. You're certainly sounds and looks like you see all those opportunities and work them the right way. So
exactly, because if I need to talk to attorneys, we have a conference. I could go to a conference every week if I just want to talk to attorneys, but I was looking for something other than always marketing my business. I wanted something to fill other voids in my business. And I came to BA for advice, and, meeting people like you and Mike has, that's really made it worthwhile for me.
That's awesome. And we've got to tell the testimonial to what kind of human being you are and how we found you. And, if you want to tell the story quickly, or you want me to?
You could tell it.
All right. Well, the version I've heard is one of our employees who's been a lifer with us, but still a young man. It was, I think, on an August day, lugging coolers down the road. You live near the Ritz here. He was lugging coolers
he was
down
coming
the road.
back over from the grocery store.
Right, that he just bought a bunch of stuff for the staff and whatnot, and sweating, and his cooler's falling apart. And you're kind-hearted enough to pull over. Were you in your truck or golf cart?
I was in my golf cart.
Okay, pull over and say, "Hey, buddy, where are you going?" and hop in. And then you brought him over here. And so it's so much fun when we talk about networking and community. That's a great example. Then he invited you, which we empower our people. He invited you to come to a mixer. You came to the mixer, and here we are a year or so later.
It's about a year.
I
think it was this one a year ago.
It would have been this meeting probably a year ago. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, he was like, "Oh, I was like, what are you doing here at the hotel?" And he was like, "Oh, I'm here for this conference with a lot of tech companies." And I was like, "Well, I do a lot of legal tech." And he's like, "Oh, really?" He goes, "Well, you should come tonight." And I got his number, and kind of the rest is history.
Isn't it crazy? I mean,
I went home and told my wife, and I'm getting dressed up, and I'm putting on my cowboy hat and my cowboy boots, and she's like, "What are you getting so dressed up?" I was like, "Well, I met this guy."
I met this guy on the side of the road.
Yeah, exactly. And they're having a mixer for tech companies, and I told him I was in legal tech, and yeah.
Yeah,
that's
great.
I met you guys.
That's great, because we all have those stories that, great relationships form from sillier things than that. And so, and it's all about being a good person. You helped a kid out trying to lug a cooler down the road, and here we are.
Exactly.
So, that's great. Well, great to hear that great American story. I love it. I love entrepreneurship. I love people that have found ways to build it, brick by brick, pound by pound, and you're obviously one of those guys. So congratulations. Glad to have you as a member with us.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jimmy. I really appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, David.